Thank you.
6 o'clock, call the Rochester School Board Personnel Committee meeting to order for business. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 is the approval of June 4th Personnel Committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you. Any additions, subtractions, deletions, amendments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, the list of resignations. Megan Gable, teacher. Gwen Reed, teacher. Kimberly Letelier, teacher, paraeducator. Margaret Munson, paraeducator. Caroline Langelier, paraeducator. Angela Marine, paraeducator. Robert Sturdivant, teacher. Mary Elks, guidance counselor. Andrew Bond, teacher. Sherry Close, second cook, cashier. Melissa Ronan, teacher. Ekaterini Randall, assistant principal. Linda Green, assistant principal. Jillian Dubois, teacher. Julie Toll, secretary. Mariana Mahoney, paraeducator. Wendy Bauer, paraeducator. Emily Summers, teacher. Tricia Kent, teacher, reading specialist. Jackson Burke, paraeducator. Brianna O'Neill, paraeducator. Elizabeth Knight, paraeducator. Andrew Morris, teacher. Emily Pelletier, speech pathologist. Anne-Marie Percillo, teacher. Barry Betancourt, guidance. And I got one on the addendum, which is Sarah Roberts Terry, teacher.
So moved.
Motion been made. Can you give a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Just a question, yeah, how are you coming with filling slots?
We're working on it.
Still got a few?
We still have quite a few.
Yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none?
I have one.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Kyle, did these people sign contracts for the upcoming year?
Yes, so there's a provision in the current CBA, not the one that we just negotiated, the one current, that says they have until August 1st to resign. After August 1st, it requires them to stay until we have a replacement.
So,
So
all
they
right.
need to leave right now. Yep.
Can I ask one more follow-up?
Good.
Are we doing exit interviews?
They're offered.
How does that work?
Sure. Goes out in a letter, so on Friday, next Friday, once the board is finished, they'll get all the people who resign or retire get a letter. And in that letter it says, if you want an exit, you reach out to Sherry Mann.
And then who performs the exit interview? Is it like a Google format or is it like?
It's with me.
With Mr. Revusing.
You all set?
Yep.
Mr. Down?
You said we still got quite a few open positions. Where do we stand with admin in the district?
So currently we have 4 assistant principal openings.
What about principals?
Right now, I don't have any principal openings. Tonight you'll have a nomination that you see.
Sounds
Still early.
so at least we're getting.
So we have a motion on the floor and made and seconded to accept the resignations as read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is nominations. Emily Fontaine, interventionist. Maria Isaac, teacher. Gail Bigelow, teacher. Karen Oxone, guidance counselor. Timothy Farrington, teacher. Lori McLaughlin, paraeducator. Paul Christie, custodian. Jacob Hunt, custodian. Corey Conley, interventionist. Nathan Dowse, teacher. Suzanne Wooten, principal. Nicole Dale, LADAC. Jennifer Carden, paraeducator. And on the addendum, we have Emily Thurston as a teacher, Daniel Tivnan, interventionist, and Mark Belanger as a teacher.
So moved.
Motion made, second.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion?
Yeah, Suzanne, is she gonna be on it? School Street?
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5, we have a leave of absence request. Mr. KH, teacher.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you. Discussion.
Question, what does that exactly mean when we say we authorize a leave of absence?
So per the contract, the employees are allowed to request a leave of absence through me that I nominate to you for a myriad of reasons, of which
Okay.
we wouldn't discuss in an open
But
session.
they can,
But I
continue to-
recommend, if I put it on here, I'm recommending that we do it for this
but they
employee.
continue to keep all their whatever things they've accrued.
Well, they take a year's leave, they don't accrue
Right,
anything
they don't
else.
accumulate that year,
Right.
but everything they've got up to that point stays, okay.
We still carry them as an employee.
Well, they're on a leave basis, so they're basically like stagnant. They're just in limbo, they're just
Frozen,
holding the
so,
position. We
yeah.
fill the position, but it's usually, we'll say, it's a year's leave of absence, and then, again, hopefully they come back, right? That person knows that they don't have another job, but we always have openings, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item 6, stipend for Laura Lewis, teacher mentor, NTO.
So moved.
Moved, seconded, thank you. Discussion. What's NTO?
New teacher orientation.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 7 is retirements. Tina Mayotte, cook manager, and Julie Sylvain, second cook cashier.
So moved.
And seconded, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Item 8, terminations. Initials DB, paraeducator.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Before we vote, are we going into a non-public to discuss, or are we just terminating without knowing anything?
So, again, you can do that if you want. The person, again, has appeal rights. So this is one of those moments where you have to trust me to do the job you hired me to do. That someone that is being recommended for termination, there's cause for that.
No disrespect, I don't think it's that I don't trust you. I think if we're voting, we should have as much information as I mean.
The issue with that, Karen, is, and you're right, I'm not trying to withhold information, but if I tell you about this, and this person asks for a hearing, you are not allowed to sit in that hearing.
That's
None of
precedent.
you would be able to.
That would be precedent of the personnel committee
Yes.
that it done this way,
Yeah.
just as a caveat to it all.
I'm not asking for details, I mean, okay.
So how long does this person have to make an appeal or something?
So you're recommending this to the full board would make that determination and receive a letter from Mr. Gregoire in writing, right? And then I think statute, Department of Labor says they have 30 days to appeal.
Okay, so it's a while before we, okay, all right.
Mr. Downs?
No, I kind of agree with Karen that people were agreeing to terminate somebody without details. Yes, I trust your judgment, and we don't need to know who it is, but I just think that we should know the details before the full board goes ahead and terminates somebody, not knowing why.
And I would recommend that we don't do that, because you would not be able to do the job that you were elected to do if you knew that.
Well, we're not, I believe that, as a board member, we're not in a position of micromanaging, or we shouldn't be, in a position of micromanaging the superintendent. If we have cause for termination and they're on the agenda, there's a reason that he's there. If the individual chooses to come back and appeal his termination, we're the governing body that are gonna hear this appeal. We are not allowed to have all the.
So you're suggesting that if we
I'm
say.
suggesting we allow the superintendent to
I
do
know
his
what you're
job.
suggesting on that
Right.
point, but I guess he's suggesting that if we appeal this and we want to hear any of the details, then none of us would be able to sit?
So
That's
if we went into non-public right now.
And so what would be the consequences of nobody on the board being able to sit?
You would have to pay for an attorney to be a mediator to hear that employee dispute.
Well, you still have to have somebody to vote, the attorney can't vote.
No, the attorney, so again, remember, you're the hearing body. Per the policy, if you were to hear the details of this termination, right, you would have to be recused. You would not be allowed to sit on the hearing. So right now, we wouldn't have a quorum of the board, right? And this would have to go out to legal, and you would be paying for someone to decide if this person violated policies or laws that, again, I can say, from working with Mr. Gregoire, this person has no problem with this decision, okay? Because they understand.
How does this differ from the episode we had over at middle school 3 months ago where we actually were informed of what the details were?
Because
So the newspaper was informed what the details were. Everybody in the world knew
We're
what they were.
sidetracked from the issue, from the agenda. I really think that we are. I think that,
I'm a
All
policy
right, hold on,
maker.
hold on,
I'm a
hold on,
policy
hold on,
maker,
hold on.
Quadrant. I'm his
All right.
boss.
I
don't want
understand
to-
that, as am
Hold on,
I,
lady,
and I'm
lady.
don't
So-
yell.
Please,
Don't yell.
I'm sorry. Well, I've got to get
Well,
over
okay,
the two
right.
of you arguing back and forth. Please don't.
We'll have
No
control your
sidebar.
meeting.
The question was, how does this differ from what happened 3 months ago when the whole world knew everything? I guess.
So the answer to that is there was a violation of state credentialing, right? Which is the state was running that investigation. So that's why you were able to understand that, because the person that unfortunately had to be let go was they were not able to be a certified credentialed teacher. So you had no choice in that matter. It wasn't our investigation, it was the state's investigation. So right now, if you were to be dealing with this is we've already done due process, we've already done everything. If you found out about it, this person appealed, you would not be able to do the job that you were voted in to do.
Okay, I'll take that
Mrs.
explanation for
Stokes.
tonight.
I just want to be clear, it wasn't meant to have an argument, it was meant to say, you recommend it. And I understand that we then go off that recommendation. But if we go off on a recommendation without knowing anything, and we have been told in the past, but if we go off a recommendation without knowing anything and making a judgment call, if we're not supposed to know, why are we voting on termination? If we're not allowed to know anything, then why do we vote on it? Because I don't know, and I'm not on this committee, so I'm not voting on it tonight, but when it goes to the full board, how do we or any of us as a board member feel about terminating somebody and ending their job without knowing even the slightest of details? And it's not meant for you to answer, you know what I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but we have been put in non-public before where we've been told reasons why without getting into detail. So I'm just confused why that's not happening tonight. But it wasn't meant for an argument, and it was just meant more for clarification. If it's us that votes and there's a lawsuit that happens and there's a wrongful termination, we're the ones that are going to have to answer that. How do you, if you are comfortable knowing that you're terminating without knowing any details, then I guess we each have to vote in our own way.
And I know your comments were just rhetorical, but
Right.
The New Hampshire School Board Association makes it very clear we follow their policies and procedures and their state laws, of which I need to comply with. You hire me to be the governing body for the district and report out to you on said laws and procedures at the DOE. So someone being recommended on this, right, falls into the area that would require us, unfortunately, to terminate them, right? Because that's my job, is to make sure I'm following all those things, and that's my recommendation to you.
You know, and I just want to respond to Kyle, because I didn't ask Kyle this question, but he answered me, so.
All right, last time.
And I get it, but if I'm voting, then it puts it in my wheelhouse to say we should be asking those questions. Whether it's if somebody gets hired, are they certified? I mean, I'm assuming you know that they are, but we still ask those types of questions. So for me, it's that avenue. If it wasn't where we voted and you had the right to do it, then that's great. But the New Hampshire School Board Association doesn't dictate to the Rochester District what we do. They're just a sounding board, or they're somebody that we can use their stuff. We don't follow it 100%, or at least we shouldn't be, and that's what we were told in policy. So, thank you.
So just quickly, this is a process that the board has done for a number of years. If there's a concern, this would be a policy discussion, not a procedural conversation here tonight. Keep in mind that in the nature of dealing with employees, you want to keep it very close to exactly the reasoning why. And Mr. Pusey did review with us that they have a 30-day process to appeal. And if we are the governing body, and if we know anything regarding why this person terminated, then that does not fare well for what we are elected to do, which is serve the best interest of our citizens. So I would recommend to the chair to move forward with the motion.
Call the question on this. The motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed?
Oh. I don't know if you just said one.
So we have Mr. Kamiri, Ms. Ellis, Ms. Keynes, and Ms. Stevens that are voting members of this committee tonight. Can we have
So you
a
had
show of
two
hands?
yeses.
I didn't vote.
You didn't vote?
No,
Oh,
Oh, you voted no?
no, I didn't vote no.
You didn't vote.
I'll vote yes.
Yes.
I was
So
thinking
three
about
more.
it.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Can we do a roll call just for clarification? Or no, are we not allowed to?
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, this person's already been terminated, correct? So it doesn't really matter if the board votes or not, the person is terminated.
Item 9, extended school year program nominations. Jane Keenan, paraeducator. Corinne Briggs, paraeducator. Patty Lashery, paraeducator. Rachel Grover, paraeducator. Susan Goodman, teacher.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
I received a call from one of these individuals, and they were supposed to start work on Tuesday, or next week on Monday. And we're not gonna have a full board meeting until Thursday. Are they going to be able to start?
Remember, your decision is tonight, personnel in summer months, you hire, everyone except
Is immediate.
administrators, yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify because she was nervous. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 10, Spalding High School summer nominations. Wendy Campbell, paraeducator.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Elementary summer school nominations. Victoria Jenkins, paraeducator.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Item 12, school board attorney, policy DDG.
So we're a little behind the 8 ball. This wasn't addressed last month at the board meeting, but if you look at our school board attorney policy that's in your packet, it says that by the June meeting, right, of even number of years, obviously 2022 now, that we would approve or appoint this. So one of the things you can make a recommendation tonight would be to continue services with Attorney Grossman, right? Or you could go out to bid, and that would go through finance. My recommendation right now with everything that we have going on in district would stay put.
Did we not address Attorney Grossman last year?
That was in an odd number year, we missed it the year before because of COVID, so we did that for 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be going out to bid to do due process, to be fiscally responsible and look at our options.
I know I'm not on this committee, but I agree with Ms. Harrington. I think we have to go out to bid and see what's available. And whether it's price or what's better fits our needs.
So what action do we need?
Oh, sorry, Karen?
I know we've had a lot of emails where there's a lot of different attorneys in the district. Can we get, and not now, but like what exactly does our school board attorney do? And I don't expect it now, but I mean, if we're looking at like going out to bid, or are there specs that it's expected that the school board attorney does? Is it just that he comes to meetings? I guess I would like, do we have like a policy on that?
Well, the policy for school board attorneys included.
I saw that, but there was no
The school board,
specs.
the attorney provides legal advice on all legal matters pertaining to your board. So the attorney is your attorney, and so it's legal counsel for all of us when there's any issue. So, for instance, you have an attorney so that I can access, and so instances similar to what we just talked about with termination. I make sure that we are following the letter of the law, right? Because there's a certified attorney that can give us that information. So reviews all contracts, a myriad of other things.
So,
Sandy has a question.
Yeah, I'm having real difficulty reading this paragraph of school attorney. I think it's very confusing. At one point, it basically says you can go seek advice. And then at some other point, the last paragraph, I think, so the last, something about the school board being, and the school board authorizing it. Who authorizes a question from the attorney or whatever, or seeks legal advice, I guess? I just don't think this is written clearly. It seems to me that you can authorize and just go out and do this on your own.
No, you hire the attorney that I get to seek counsel from, so we have them on retainer, so you've hired an attorney and I get to use them. You all get to use them. You can pick up the phone anytime you want and call our attorney. So that's what they're here for you to
But
do.
even without the board being informed, you can just call the attorney and
If you have a
get
question
some
about-
advice from him about how to run the school department?
If you have a question about your job as an elected official, you can call the school board attorney.
Okay, I think this is poorly written, frankly. I think it's very confusing. I don't think it's clear as to who has authority to do what and in what circumstances. But if that's what the New Hampshire School Boards Association has written it, they're not very good English teachers, I can tell you that.
What action do we need to take on this?
I think Shane has his hand up.
Are we approving this? Are we asking
well,
personnel to approve it?
Again, basically per the policy right now, and this is a personnel matter because you would potentially be hiring someone, right? That's why it's in personnel. So the question is, because it's an even number year, right? Do you want to retain the services, Attorney Grossman, or do you want to go up to bid?
so would it be possible to retain him, he's retained until we close a bid, if we go out to bid?
Until the end of June.
Yeah, well, we're already,
Well, we're beyond that,
already
so
past
we're
that,
already.
so I wouldn't worry about that.
So my question is, like, when we have other situations come up and we go out for other attorneys, why don't we just use the one that we have? How come we have to use other ones?
For instance, we have attorneys that deal with specialized things, like Mr. Toddy's dealing with something in ERS. We have believe it or not, we actually have retained a forensic flooring lawyer,
Okay.
right? Special ed, there's a special education attorney that deals with special education.
Okay.
So,
So
Sorry.
I'm kind of curious, what are the sort of generalized areas that Jerry would answer your questions on, I guess?
so I see
I
counsel.
mean, obviously, I understand seeking specialists for specialized areas, I get that, but
Contracts, right? Personnel matters, right? state law
Well, he didn't do the
interpretation.
contract, did he? He didn't, we just had a
No,
contract, or are you going to
contract
go for it?
interpretations. We deal with a lot of vendors, and we have to sign a lot of contracts.
Okay,
So it's vetting
not
contracts.
necessarily personnel,
Not
but
that-
for
not that-
vendors, just saying, okay.
He's also done board clarifications. We've had questions during the meeting about different issues,
Okay.
and he's been able to provide us with an interpretation of our rules
Okay.
at the board meeting. That's why he usually sits there at the board meeting, a lot like Terrence or does for the city council.
I know that last year comments were made that we would be going to bid at the next cycle, the next time it was up with an even number. Doesn't mean we won't decide that he's the guy, that we'll stay and retain him, but I know multiple people said last year, we want to do that,
No, I remember the conversation, that's why I thought it was being addressed, and I didn't recall it was only for a year, so.
I also think it's wise to go to bid, but I also think it's difficult to discuss in public, like if, you know what I mean, like any pros and cons kind of thing. So I think maybe as a board, we should discuss how the last, however many years, you know what I mean, we've only had a year, but he's been with us for a long time. I don't know that that would be a discussion for public. Would that be a discussion for non-public with the full board? Because I just think if we're going, I do think we should go out to bid, but I think, we have reviews for everybody that we have. I don't remember in the last 10 years that I've been on that we've ever had a discussion on whether or not the board is happy or what do we feel like we need to work on. And I think that should be something that we discuss in non-public with the full board. So I don't know if that's something we can put on.
Well, as it stands right now with the act, if we decide to go out for bid, which is reasonable, where do we stand as far as we're out of legal counsel until bid closes? Or
You could
without a reappointment tonight or recommendation to the full board, we would not have.
You could make a recommendation to finance to retain him through, let's say, August while we go out to bid. And, again, it's just month by month, kind of like a lease, if you will. And then open the bids and have a conversation in August and decide then if you want.
And that would probably be a good time to have that conversation, Karen.
So I'll make a motion that we retain Attorney Grossman through September, to give us September 1st, to give the board an opportunity to meet and discuss where they want to proceed as far as the board attorney.
Going up.
Then you can make another motion to go to bid.
And I'll include going out to bid for another attorney.
Need a second on the motion?
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion that's been made.
Okay, and this is to give the board time to do what? Put an ad out
Put-
for other attorneys to
Put a
do
bid.
what?
Put-
I don't know what the
Bid.
time frame is for.
So without reinstating or accepting Mr. Grossman, or recommending to accept Mr. Grossman as our attorney,
Extending him.
or extending him to September 1st, if we don't do that,
Well, we're
technically
already
he's...
out of violation anyway, but.
Well, let's do less of a violation. Let's, let's not knowingly do it wrong. We
And-
extend him to September 1st, and at the same time, do a request for
Full board, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear, my motion would be for a full board, non-public discussion to decide if we indeed want to go out for bid. But I agree that it should be a full board, non-public discussion. So I apologize if I wasn't clear. Yeah,
That the full board.
next week or,
I
you know,
don't know.
depending.
I don't think we can discuss.
Contractor, not.
Huh?
Well, you would be talking about, it would fall under the first RSA, dismissal, promotion, or compensation of a public employee.
Yeah, because he's a contractor, right?
Yeah.
Is that something we can do?
My only concern is, it's July, if we wait for the full board to go out to bid, and then we go out to bid, it's gonna take longer to do it. Jerry,
It's
Mr.
next
Grossman.
week.
It's
Huh?
next week, and
Next week.
we're not gonna go out to bid without full board approval anyway. Anything we do tonight is gonna get full board
Recommended to the
approval
full
So
board.
is it gonna be on the agenda
for
to,
non-public, that's what I just requested.
okay. But we can't, can I just clarify, I just wanna make sure, we can't go into non-public to discuss going out to bid. We can go into non-public to discuss what I had already mentioned.
Our current,
Okay, and then we will come out of non-public and vote on whether or not we're going out to bid or not. Okay. Thank you.
So we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any further discussion now? Call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I guess.
All right, 5-year plan.
September, a long time.
No actions, as a, still waiting for the survey to be completed. Any public comment? There is no public. Any other? Nope, Mr. Downs?
So last year, Mr. Toddy, I'm not sure where we went with it, he mentioned about hiring janitors that possibly didn't have a high school diploma but were willing to go to school to get their high school diploma or GED. Where did we go with that? Did we kind of, just to help his department out, where
Yeah.
did we go with that?
Their union was approached, right, and it's something that they didn't want to take up.
The union rejected the notion.
Okay. That's too bad. Okay.
Any others? We do have a non-public. So under RSA 91A3, roll call vote, please. All right. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's business department proposal for the first quarter of the fiscal year. In the amount?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.